What is up, Facebook? I am so excited for our webinar today. I'm Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and on behalf of Dave Savage and the entire Mortgage Coach team, I want to welcome you to the Tuesday Mortgage Coach call. And it's always exciting to have an opportunity to jump in on Tuesdays because most of you know I'm a regular on the Friday edition, but when Dave is down and out making magic happen in other places and speaking, I get this opportunity every once in a while. So thank you all for tuning in. I titled this today's webinar around creating client engagement. I've run a couple of webinars recently. I'm running one later this week, which I'll give you guys info on. And I've just found that people need to create more client engagement. How do we make it easy, right? This is a Mortgage Coach call, and we know Mortgage Coach is absolutely the best tool for creating client engagement around mortgage conversation. But really wanted to look out there and figure out what other tools are out there that are great. So I've got two guests joining me. I'll introduce both of them, and I'll hand over the reins for a little bit to one of them. But first off, I've got Grant Horvath, and Grant is the partnership director at Homebot. Is that your official name, or there's some other fancy name for that? But welcome, Grant.
How's it going, Todd? It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Dude, it's great. I've gotten to know Grant over the last year plus with my tenure with Homebot, and I'll talk more about what I've been doing with them as we go. And then I've also got Chong, who's a producing branch manager at Fairway back east somewhere. I'm really blowing my introduction. Where exactly are you, Chong?
I am in DC, Todd.
DC, that's what I thought. So welcome. Give us a little background on you and yourself. I know you run an awesome branch there and about an $80 million producer. What else do we need to know?
Well, I just strive to be Todd Bookspan, actually, quite frankly.
Well, that's really disappointing to hear now that I have you as my guest, that's what we're going to be talking about. But awesome. I'm super excited to have you here. As always, if you guys have questions, if you're in Facebook, just put the comments in there live. I'll do my best to monitor it while these guys are chatting. We'd love to answer your questions because this call is about you. And additionally, if you're in on the Zoom feed, then you can ask questions in the chat there as well. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Grant, who's going to share a screen and kind of walk us through just a quick, brief tutorial on what is Homebot. And then I'll kind of tell you why I've never seen a tool that for my team has created the client engagement that Homebot has. And then we'll jump in with Chong after that. Take it away, Grant.
Yes, sir, Todd. And just as a precursor, I might be poking a little fun at you guys, maybe asking a few questions your way on how you're leveraging the system. But the ultimate goal behind Homebot, before I hop in, is we're focused around empowerment. We want to make sure that your clients are not only engaged, but that they also understand how they can best use their home as an asset. But also, too, it's all about content, right? When it comes to client engagement, you don't want to be a salesperson. You want to be an advisor. And this is really what we're getting after with Homebot is we are positioning you as that wealth advisor for your client's home. And it's an incredibly simple tool. It just sends out to your clients every single month automatically. It's branded to you as the lender, so it keeps you top of mind. And it's showing them every which way they could save money or build wealth. So for example, Chong, what have you really seen with Homebot so far in terms of client engagement? Have you seen them really latching on to the fact that you're providing good content to them?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the cool things is I've been getting calls from ex-clients that didn't even know that we moved companies, quite frankly. That's bad on our part, right? But Homebot's actually allowed us to re-engage, and the topic of this conversation is engaging with our clients. But yeah, it's allowed us to re-engage with clients that we haven't spoken with. And quite frankly, a bunch of them are in our pipeline right now for refinances.
That's incredible, yeah. And the whole idea around it is just the fact that we're not showing things like 7 ways to clean out your gutter, 4 gardening tips for 4th of July. It's all about, hey, listen, here's a customized piece for me every single month that's showing you the value of your home, all of your loan information, as well as how you can best leverage your home. So different things like equity, right? A lot of people, they need to look far and wide to even find this figure. And we're showing them not only the equity they have, but also too, how much they're paying towards principal as opposed to towards interest. It's a simple red is bad, green is good type of interface. And Todd, Chong, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. When people start seeing spreadsheets and they start seeing incredibly in-depth numbers in front of them, sometimes they want to bury their head in the sand because they don't really know what's going on and they're kind of afraid to talk to someone that has that upper hand on them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, Grant, scroll back up to the value for a sec. Let me kind of give you guys my 2 cents on it, right? So I've been traveling the country speaking to realtors around Win by Noon, and it's interesting when I get in front of a room, I just say, well, gosh, you know what, you've got to be proactive with your clients because why? And then eventually it comes out that we realize clients have an internet addiction, and then I say, awesome. Why do you guys think that your clients are going online to other real estate sites? And the two answers that we get are to look at homes that are for sale and to look at value. And value is the predominant thing that people tell me that their clients are looking for online. And then this is kind of where I become a jerk. I say, well, awesome. I said, what do you guys think of those online values? Are they accurate? Yes or no? And they all kind of laugh and, they're like, heck no, and they're kind of flexing their realtor muscle. And I say, well, really great. I said, so what does it mean that your clients aren't calling you to find out what their home value is? They're actually going online to those sites that you don't think is accurate, and they view them as the home value expert. And so I've been teaching them to turn the tables and do annual real estate reviews at a minimum with their clients. I tell them that quarterly is best. And then, once my team started using Homebot, I realized, well, gosh, this is the easy button, because as a loan officer, it's pushing out to your clients. Your realtor can partner with you. It pushes out to them, and it's turning the tides again. It's putting them back in charge as the home value expert. So I always want to point that piece out, Grant, because I think that that's really critical. You're going to hit that verify button. Go for that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And this is the best part about it too, Todd, is that there's so many different websites out there nowadays, right, that are trying to engage your clients and trying to dissociate you from them. And when it comes down to it, Homebot realizes that the real estate agent, that lending professional, they're always going to be that expert. A computer model can only do so well, which is why we're saying, hey, listen, this estimated value of your home is slightly off. But just like Todd said, go to your real estate agent professional here, and you can actually get a value directly from them. So we're putting the power, like you said, back in the hands of the real estate agent, because their clients can easily reach out to them. The second their clients click this button, you get an email and a text message. You have a CMA request that you can pass along to that real estate agent partner. And next thing you know, you're not only engaging with that agent, but you've given that agent a hot lead. They're coming back to you, and that could lead to another purchase loan for yourself as the lender. Right, guys?
I totally agree. How do you guys answer it, Chong, in your branch, when someone says, well, is the value accurate? What's your response to that? Or you can jump in, Grant.
Well, I think that for the most part, I don't think you're going to be 100% accurate on everything, because it's just really isn't an appraisal. But what I've seen, and Grant touched on this earlier, what I've seen is the actual exact dollar value of the home isn't really what's the thing here. Like, the biggest value here is the ability to be able to connect with ex-clients or new clients. And then on top of all that, to be able to give that lead or that egg to a realtor partner of ours, right? That's been the real value here. And on a lot of our refinances, quite frankly, like, it's been kind of like spot on, like a few $1,000s off here and there, but like real close. I mean, like really close, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're seeing that in with our team as well. And what I find is really interesting on it is that in the refinance cycle, my loan officers are saying that when they get to that part where they ask a client, well, what do you think your home is worth? It used to always be, well, my Zestimate is this, right? And then that's what they thought it was worth. And now what they're saying is, typically they're still saying, well, Zillow says this, but they're also saying, hey, that thing you send us says this as well. And so we're finding that clients are looking at it, number one. I mean, that's the engagement piece. And then the other piece about value that I believe is that I had a realtor once ask, or a loan officer, say, well, I looked it up for my house and it was wrong, right? My appraisal was different and our value on wherever it was different. And I said, well, that's the whole point. I'd actually rather have it be slightly off so that a client hits the button and engages, reintroduce them back to their realtor who they forgot who the realtor was, or introduce them to a new realtor. And I think there's the opportunity with it.
That's right. Bingo.
Oh, yeah. And that's even just the tip of the iceberg there. The value will always be the eye catcher. We know that, but we always like to take it a little bit further in terms of not only saving money by potentially saving interest over time, but also using that equity figure instead of just kind of staring at it and watching it incrementally go up. So we're saying, hey, listen, you know, especially in a time like right now, there's a lot of good opportunity to refinance. And of course, too, it's like you all are saying, we're taking rates from the Freddie Mac national average. We're making them a bit more conservative, but this won't be the exact rate that your clients are probably securing on the home. However, it's a very close estimate. And when someone sees $33,000 staring them in the face, they're going to want to reach out and they're going to want to give you a call, Chong, or give you a call, Todd, or send an email. And that's our ultimate goal here is, hey, listen, Homebots just kind of starting. We're helping you along the race. We're maybe getting you close to the finish line, but your lending professional is going to be the only person positioned to actually get you set up and save you those thousands of dollars over time. And I'm sure you all can attest to this as well. Chong, have you been getting a decent amount of questions about refinancing since people have actually seen these numbers staring them in the face?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're pretty good we're pretty diligent about getting the message out to you know, to our ex-clients that are able to save money. But for sure, like, this is definitely getting them to reach out to us before we can even get out to them.
Oh yeah. And Todd, have you been seeing messages come in here as well? Have you been kind of leveraging this to your advantage to start those conversations?
Yeah, I would tell you that you know, based on the feedback I'm getting from our team, I would say two things. You know, number one is, yeah, we're getting a lot of people who are hitting the buttons saying, you know, what would my rate be? How much does it cost? You know, how do I eliminate MI? So those have been the most popular ones. But where they've said that they can tell people are paying attention to the digest is when they're, you know, by default, most loan officers think, hey, you just want another 30-year fixed rate loan to lower your payment. And what they're finding is people are coming in and talking about 20 years, which no one knew existed before. You know, most clients are like, I only thought there was a 15 and a 30. And so it's been interesting to see how many 20-year loans the team is doing, and the loan officers credit to Homebot because it's kind of set that up in clients' minds that they can, you know, typically get now a 20-year fixed rate loan for a pretty similar payment to what they're paying on the 30, and they seem to dig that.
Oh, yeah. And Ryan Grant talked about it last week as well. One of my favorite speakers in the industry, Jason Fenwick, talks about it all the time, is that what our system's doing and what the whole industry is revolving around is you don't want to be a salesperson. You want to be an advisor, and you want your clients to think about you when they say, hey, listen, I have a good idea of what this is doing for me, but I need to go to Todd. I need to go to Chong to make sure that I have the right picture. And ultimately, I'm doing what's best for me and what's best for my home over time. And that's all we're trying to do here. A smart and empowered client, they're the hand raiser. They want to pick up the phone. They want to call you because they're seeing, hey, I had no idea that my equity could actually be used to buy an investment property. I had no idea I could potentially trade up to a new home. I need to reach out to my trusted wealth advisor to see how I can get started. Or even talking about that full financial picture, because every client is different. Every homeowner is different. You know, some people may be like me. You know, I made a pretty bad decision. I went to grad school for business. I should have probably just went directly into Homebot and kind of learned things through that way. It's a lot more fun on hand. But I have student loans. I could use my equity to pay those off. Now, there's a lot of people that are in different situations and ultimately could be benefiting from the advice that you as a lender have right there standing in front of them. And we actually, one of my favorite loan officers to talk to about this, Austin Lahr, who's at Fairway as well, he said that Homebot gives people a reason to reach out to him, gives people a reason to need the lender, which a lot of people don't realize what they could possibly use the lender for other than just that singular transaction. There's a lot you can do to help them, right, guys?
Absolutely.
You know, and I love too that you guys color code it, right? There's some stuff that's green, that's good. There's kind of the orange stuff, like making home improvements, that maybe's good. And then there's the red stuff, take a vacation. And, but it's a possibility. And we know that clients like to do those kinds of things, but I do like the color coding as well as is kind of a nifty thing you guys did.
You know, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, this is funny. And I'm looking at this right now because I don't really take advantage of this part of it. So this is actually, I'm starting to like, you know, it's starting to percolate in my brain, like some of the other ways that we can actually add value to our clients. Because quite frankly, like I haven't looked at this part of the presentation yet, Grant. So this is cool, very cool.
All right, perfect. Hey, and I owe you a phone call later too, Chong.
Let's get him using the whole thing. Hey, real quick, we're getting a couple of questions on the realtor piece and sort of how that works. So can you sort of jump on it? People are asking, is it co-branded? And then, are we working with the realtors database? So can you kind of sort of talk about that piece?
That's an excellent question. So when it comes down to it, it all started with how Homebot really came to fruition. We were a lender's first platform focused specifically on getting the lender more engagement with their clients, which is why most of this report is HELOCs, cash out refis, refinancing opportunities, mostly financing-based activities. But real estate agents buy homes too. They started receiving these reports and they saw, wow, I'd really like to be positioned as a wealth advisor for my clients too. I'd like to stay in front of them. So we created a real estate agent version of Homebot as well. Now, the key piece here, guys, is that the real estate agent version, if they want even close to the full functionality of Homebot, they need a lender to co-sponsor them. Because we realize when it comes to making the best experience possible for the homeowner, they need that trusted triad. They need their lender partner, they need their real estate agent partner, all culminating down to them to add the most value. So the agent will actually send out a very similar report to all of their clients every single month as well. However, since you're co-branding the agent's information is going to show up on top. It's going to show up on bottom. And that's mainly because we know you all don't share the same transactions. You might share a few, but probably not their entire database. However, in every single section that involves a financing related activity, your information will actually show up as the lender. So what's happening here is we're saying, hey, listen, your real estate agent partner is sending you this report as a homeowner. But if you have a financing related question, they highly recommend Chong or they recommend Todd to answer those questions for you. So that real estate agent co-branded piece is around the whole idea that they're sending this out to their clients. Their entire database is being nurtured. However, if the real estate agent's database has a financing related question, it's all coming back to you as the lender. So it's creating that perfect triangle of trust, but also too, it's helping you build stronger relationships with agents, and it's helping you build referral business through agents as well. Does that add a little bit more of color, guys?
Amen.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and when it all comes down to it as well, I know there's a second piece of that question, and that all revolves around the database. So with Homebot, we like to stay in strict compliance with non-private and private information, which means your agents will only be able to see their clients. You as the lender will only be able to see yours. However, we're starting to see a fundamental change in how people are addressing this. More and more lenders are going around the idea of being a mastermind of Homebot. So what they're doing is they're actually using Homebot as an opportunity to go into their agent's office to say, hey, listen, how about I help you work your database? There's a ton of people that are showing up on your activity feed that have great refinancing situations or have the opportunity to buy an investment property. How about we just pick up the phone and we call them together and see what we can do, because two people on both sides of that value add stick are better than one, right?
Absolutely.
Todd, it looks like you might be muted.
I did mute myself because I was typing notes to people and putting the discount code up in Facebook and here on Zoom. So thank you, Grant, for seeing that. What I would say is my team has underutilized it with our realtor partners, but the partners who are using it love it. And I would tell you that it seems like they fall into a couple of different camps. I've got the high touch realtors who are good with their database, who've put their clients in there. They've picked up the phone, they've called them and told them what it is that they've added them to. And they've really used it as a value add to their clients. And I find that when I talk to loan officers around the country, they're not taking the time to do that. They're dumping in 500 or 1,000 people and then just waiting for the business to come. And so, once we get past this refi boom, that would sort of be my encouragement on the engagement, is you can look and see who's looking at it, right? If they've looked at it, you're going to call them and check in with them. If they haven't looked at it, you're going to call them and figure out why not, because my guess is it's probably going in their spam. And then, going back to the realtor piece, the other version that I've seen them doing is they're dumping in like open house leads and other people just to see if they can add value to them in a different way. And, it is crazy. They ask a refinance question, it comes in, or they ask a, home value question, it comes in, and it's a great opportunity we're finding to help the agents, because, the ones that are really good are doing it themselves and being involved, but most of them aren't that good. And so it's an opportunity for a loan officer on our team to actually follow back up with the agent and add more value. So I don't know if you're seeing that Grant around with other LOs or not, but that's our experience.
100%. And we even built that functionality around our system as well, Todd. We understand that a lot of agents, whether it's getting their database together, understanding how to fully leverage the system, getting to use that activity feed that we provide of what every single person is doing with their Homebot on that minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day basis. We understand that agents sometimes have trouble figuring out the strategy or may need a little bit more time or some more effort put into it. So that's why we position you as the lender, not just being that person that can help them on the financing side, but also being that mastermind of Homebot and ultimately engagement as well. And we give you agent analytics. We'll actually show you how many clients your agents have uploaded. We'll show you how many people, cleverly named Grant Realtorvath, of course, are actually sending out these reports and how many views. Yeah, he's not an actual realtor. Don't sue me. But, it's good to see that he might not be leveraging the system fully. So that's why we always provide analytics. And ultimately, content's only as good as what you do with it, which is why we're focused not only on providing value to your clients, but also, like I said, providing value to you as the lender. It's always nice to have a look behind the silver curtain, kind of see your stock ticker of what everyone's doing, and ultimately being able to reach out, right, guys? And have you guys seen any success, or have you seen some extreme engagement coming from this activity feed?
Yeah, it's the activity feeds. Right there, it speaks for itself because yours is real. You've got real loan officers that are using yours and real homeowners in there. I peeked in my teams this morning. We sent out a little over 2,000 digests in the last 30 days, and we've had almost 1,000 people who have opened the digest. And so, I think on here, and Grant, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I sort of ignore the email opens because to me, that just means someone got rid of the new on their phone. They didn't want to see a number telling them how many emails they had. So I look at how many people actually click through and go to the website and look at the digest. And for us, it's typically, right around 50%. It's been as high as 60%. And, we've got to clean ours out. We've got some bad email addresses in there. When I was prepping for the call with Grant, he told me how to eliminate those. So that's good. Well, I guess once I get rid of those bad email addresses, it'll be even higher. And I would tell you that, one of the most powerful things about Homebot for me is that, we dumped in our clients who have closed with us in the past 7-8 years since we've had our team. And then also during that time frame, we took 500 HARP underwater refinance loan applications. And you know what? They were kind of brutal at first. We turned down a lot of people. And the funny part is one of the first refinances that my team did was for somebody who we had turned down for HARP refinance. They weren't very happy with us at the time, but they've been getting our home digest. They've been opening it up, and they thought it was enough value to call and do a refinance with one of our loan officers. I thought that was a pretty good success story.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I will tell you guys, from the loan officer's perspective, like we're using this, and me in particular, we're using this as like adding it to our perfect loan process to have that initiate that conversation in the beginning about the mortgage and the management, how we're going to look at your loan from a long-term perspective and make sure you never overpay. So when we talk about that, and then we pretty much say, listen, you're going to be getting an email from us, right? Or from Homebot, excuse me, that's going to give you a valuation of your property. So we're using that and also using the view digest and using that as a trigger to give them a call. Because if they're opening up, they're quite frankly, could be ready to talk about refinancing. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. And Chong, you touched on something very important there as well. And ultimately, what one of my roles is at Homebot is you need to start building a strategy around the system. The way you put it is perfect. You're taking a look at the report. You're reaching out to a certain activity that's being done, people viewing the digest, for example, and you're picking up the phone and calling them. It's a great tool because you're both on the same page. You and the client are talking about their home. You understand the situation behind it. But what I always suggest the most is that people use as many mediums as possible when it comes to displaying this content. So for example, if I'm clicking into Linda Fay here, you'll actually see that we did a recent partnership maybe about half a year or more ago with BombBomb. And their whole idea, and I just read their book, Rehumanize Your Business, is it's all around being able to create that more than just text type of relationship with a person, to the point of where you've sent so many videos to each other that when you meet in person, it's kind of like you were already friends, right? So we took that to our own advantage and said, hey, listen, if you have BombBomb, or if you want to use the power of video with Homebot, you can go into anyone's report at any time. You can easily click this record button right here, and you can actually do a screen share of what's most valuable to them in their report. And then you can easily just go ahead and send that video off, send them a brand new report. And next thing you know, you put a face behind that. And that's always one of the biggest suggestions when it comes to client engagement overall, is you want to get your face out there. Chong, I just saw recently that you were on the news as well, right?
Yeah, I hope for good stuff, not bad stuff.
Yeah, and that's just the whole idea too, is when people see that familiar face, they're more likely to pick up the phone and say, oh yeah, you know, I just saw Chong, or Chong just sent me this on Homebot and he was talking about my home. I'd love to pick up the phone and talk to him a bit more about it. And ultimately, it's all about how you fit video, call, text, Homebot, any other type of technology you're using into that overall strategy to make sure that that client knows who you are and you're always top of mind, right?
I couldn't agree more, Grant. You really have to use all those different mediums, because if you just do the calls, if you just do the emails, you're not being 100% as effective as you should be or can be.
Oh yeah. Todd, anything from your end on that as well, sir?
You know, I was muted. I'm busy typing away because I typed the wrong discount code into the Zoom link. So I would like to blame autocorrect, but apparently it's not win by BUY noon. It's homebot.ai/win by noon. And, you know, I think the biggest thing in that, what I was super intrigued with was that, you know, you said build a strategy around the system. I love, Chong, that you built it into your loan process. I think, you know, that would be great for people to hear how you've done that. Because here's, you know, again, kind of go back to the premise on this, right? If you're not going to use Homebot, there's things in here we're talking about that you can use to create client engagements, conversations that you can have. This is just the easy button, right? And I think that you have this opportunity to think past the current gift we have of low rates and refinances and say, how can I add value today that I can gain momentum with as the loans start tapering off, you know, in a month or two, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there saying, what am I going to do? Build this into your process, build a system around it. So where specifically, Chong, are you scripting this into your conversation?
In the very beginning. I mean, when we're talking about the purchase transaction, we're always talking about, listen, and Grant touched on this earlier, we're not going to be a person that's just going to give you a loan with rate and, you know, and add all this debt to you. Like, we look at your loan as an investment vehicle, right? So, like, you know, I always talk about, if you're trying to buy a $600,000 property, right? Or if you're trying to buy a $600,000, like, you know, of Apple stock, like, you need $600,000 to buy that amount of stock. Well, to buy a $600,000 house, you may only need 30, right? Or even less. So we look at it as an investment vehicle. And in addition to that, we say, look, you know, it's our goal to be able to meet not just your short-term, but long-term goals. So, you know, we never want you to overpay. So over time, you know, we're gonna analyze the market. We're gonna manage your mortgage for you. So at some point in the future, and the conversation used to be, I'm gonna call you. And when I call you and I say, Todd, it's time, it means that you're gonna save money, and then you get the ball rolling. So from that alone, we've had great success. And I attribute Tim Brahim an awful lot, because I swiped and adapted his script on it. But it works great. But now we can add the value of the, listen, here's the deal. You know, not only are we going to contact you, but we're going to give you an email every month, and then we're going to let you know what your house is worth. So from that point forward, not only are we solidifying the long-term, like, mortgage advisory part of the transaction, but we're giving them something more in value, because quite frankly, like, I think that the one question mark always is going to be in any transaction is, what's your house worth, right? Because if we talk about a refinance, if you have the income and the assets, right, or if you have the income and the interest rates lower, you can save money, that's awesome. But that final piece is always the value. So this is really, you know, it's almost like you're sending out, you know, when they get the email with the value of the property right there, that's almost like the, you know, I mean, that's the icing on the cake, right? Because at that point we know that they're going to have the value, and then we know that they can save money, and it's just an easier conversation at that point. So we sell it from the very beginning. We talk about it, and we talk about how we're going to manage their mortgage over time using, not just what the market is doing, but we're going to let them know what the house is worth as well.
And how quick after the close are you putting them into Homebot?
Immediately, right? As a part of, and actually we're updating our CRM right now, but it's going to go in as soon as we get when the loan funds out in Compass. So it's going to go in right away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is that what you're seeing, Grant? Or are you seeing something different?
Nope, I'm seeing something spot on with exactly what Chong's saying. A lot of people too even like to reference it as, hey, listen, by the way, I'm going to give you one of these closing gifts, and it's going to be Homebot. So people are even putting it in their closing gift package. And what's great about our system as well is that it's not just providing the same information every single month. It's actually pretty intuitive as well. So for example, Chong, if you just closed on that loan, you put that person into the system, the second they went through Encompass, you can rest assured that the refinancing module will actually not show up until 5.5 months or so after that loan was closed, because we don't want you to hand off your commission or have to pass that back along. The system's actually realizing, hey, refinancing doesn't make sense right now. Or if you just did that FHA loan, like you said, buying that $600,000 home with $30,000 down, the equity modules won't show up because they're not going to have any equity to invest in different properties or consolidate credit card debt. So it's all around not just providing valuable content, but providing content that is meaningful in their current process or their current stage right now that they are in their loan. That's exactly what you're getting after too. You said, hey, listen, we're going to call you, and you're going to know that call's around saving money. And that's just a part of your loan process and being able to manage that mortgage for them. And we're kind of doing that in essence as well. Hey, here's your monthly report. By the way, keep a close look because things may have changed and you may be able to save a lot more money or build a lot more equity over time with how things have changed.
I love that. That's funny, man. That's awesome. Included that as a closing gift. That's great. That's ingenious. Did you think about that, or did someone else do that?
So we've actually had quite a few people do that, and where I've heard it from most is real estate agent partners, actually.
That's awesome. I just wrote that down, by the way. It's right here.
Gold. It's always gold when we're taking notes when we're actually leading in part of a webinar. That's awesome. I've been taking notes on what you're doing, Chong, as well. So
absolutely, that's awesome.
No, man, I've got my notepad out too. It's always great that I have a few big coaches on the line with me. And that's what's nice too about working with top producers all across the U.S. is you never know what someone's using that is just absolutely blowing it out of the water for their business, right?
Absolutely. Hey, we're getting a couple of questions, Grant. I don't want to totally steer you off track, but someone's asking about multiple properties, and I own a bunch, so I've got all mine in there, so I know how that works. But can you explain that for folks who have clients with investment properties?
Yes, sir. Of course. So when it comes down to it, you can have multiple properties in Homebot. So how we do things now is we have a public API out. We're working on integrating with different CRM systems, LOS systems, but how our system works is you actually send us over your client database. And when it comes down to it, we upload it for you. And if they do happen to have multiple homes or investment properties, our system is smart enough to realize, okay, so this person with the same email is tied to X amount of properties. And we'll actually upload every single property to go to that same email. So they will receive a Homebot digest for every single one of those properties. However, any single one of those reports they actually go into, they'll also get tabs on the top of their screen. So for that investor that really wants to go boom, boom, boom right through their properties, they just have to click into one report and they'll see every single property on the top of that report. And is that something you've been seeing as well, Todd, with the system? Is that it's pretty simple to get through those properties?
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, I own a fair number of properties, so it's kind of fun to see it. And, I'm a nerd just like everyone else. Hey, how's my neighborhood doing? And I jump in there, just about every month and kind of watch it. I try not to be like a hawk, but you'll find that your clients who own investment properties are, right? They're counting their dollars every month.
Oh, yeah. And there's one other piece with that as well. And we've actually seen this happen quite a few times too. if your homeowner is looking at their Homebot report every single month, there's actually a piece of it where they can refer their friends and family as well. So at the bottom of every single one of these reports, all your clients have to do is put in the first name, last name, email, and they can actually invite whomever they want to. And a lot of clients actually got smart with this, and they realized they could just invite themselves and put in their other investment properties. So if you have a client that you've been reaching out to that you haven't been in contact with for years, and it turns out they've become a mogul, a lot of people are being intuitive enough to realize they can just add properties themselves. You get an email whenever someone's been referred that says you got a new lead, and they start receiving a report on their home every single month automatically as well. So it's always good to see people leveraging that too.
I wrote that down as well, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we've actually seen a few top producers put this on their Facebook, their LinkedIn, because you actually get your own share page as well. So what they'll do is they'll say, hey, listen, here's a video of my report. Here's what I'm doing in terms of saving money. Here's how I'm leveraging my equity. Oh, by the way, did you realize that you could share this with someone on the bottom of your report? Or if you just want to sign up for yourself, you can just click on the link in my comments or click on the link in my bio. And we're seeing a lot of people get organic movement and get leads come in through Facebook and other social media type of mediums because they're just providing valuable content. And instead of just saying, hey, listen, I'm here for the transaction, they're saying, hey, I provide this to all my clients. I'm a wealth advisor. I'm here to make sure that you succeed over time. We're here for 30 years. I'm not just here for 1 minute, right?
Totally makes sense to me. I mean, I think it's just such an easy piece, right? Because it always goes back to walking in the client's shoes, right? What do they care about on their home, right? They care about first and foremost, how much is it worth? And then obviously this tool is showing them what's their equity. And then you transition that over to Mortgage Coach and you show them how they can actually use that equity to their advantage, right? Lower the cost of the debt. They can use it to pay off, the good and the bad things that you guys are showing in your report. And so, again, I think that's been the piece for us and sort of what makes it relevant to this conversation is it's moving us faster in relationship with clients. We know if your client goes on to, Zillow or Redfin or one of those, I mean, those guys all own mortgage companies now, right? If they're capturing their data that they're going to be retargeting them to be doing business with their companies, not with you. And so the whole goal is if you're providing that value to keep them away from there and then to differentiate yourself by getting different tools. Because the other thing that, at least my team's seen here in Arizona, maybe Chong, you're seeing it in DC too, is that, most clients are coming to the team for a refinance. They've already talked to their servicer oftentimes, they've already talked to their bank oftentimes, they've already applied and started the process with another lender oftentimes. And so it's just oftentimes, so just how quick can you create that value for them? What are you guys seeing there, Chong, with regards to the shopping around on refis and in purchases in general?
So, I mean, for us, we really rely hard on, it's a big part of our process to the mortgage under management piece where we're actually like being proactive and reaching out to them first. But, what Grant said earlier about using it as a lead, as a lead tool, it's incredible because you can do that. And I think from that aspect, 100%, 100% we can use it as that, but actually I should talk about this because I've been wanting to talk about this, but I'm going to say now because we're talking about lead management. Sorry, Todd, to kind of like go on the thing here, but a bunch of years back, I really wanted to create this lead generating thing like based around the valuations of homes. And the biggest problem I had was the fact that we couldn't get the actual data, right? So, and I think I talked to you about this, Grant, initially, like, when I first was turned on to this, I was like, oh my God, this is a piece of the pie that I needed to create that lead generating thing, right? So now that it's here, now I'm like, oh man, like I really want to do it. So we're like in the process of like creating this lead generating thing, like, like it's not consumer direct or anything, but it's based around this. So I just feel like this is going to be huge for not just us, but everyone, like in general, like if you're looking to generate leads, and not to go off on a tangent again, but if you really think about it, like, realtors really want the value of getting leads sent to them, like us creating business for them. So I can't think of a better way than using Homebot as a tool to be able to do that, for sure. But Todd, going back to your other question, we do get a lot of conversations, after they've spoken with other people. And then of course what we would do is we would take the mortgage coach piece, the TCA, the total cost analysis, and turn that into a win-win. And one more thing, actually, a lot of times when you have a lead and you're trying to create a TCA for them, like you don't have all the data. And I think the Homebot gives us the data to be able to turn that into a TCA. Like it'll give you the data purchase, right? So you know what the first payment is. You can just really ask them what their original loan amount was, and you can have a TCA off to them like in a few minutes. So it serves a lot of purposes, for sure.
No, and I love that. And I love you talking about the lead generation piece. And, again, that's what the holy grail of getting a new realtor is giving them a pre-qualified buyer, right? And so, our team is finding that, we've got a lot of orphaned clients who are asking us for CMAs, and then we're able to connect that as an opportunity to our agents saying, hey, this could just be because they're curious. It could just be because they want to refinance, but guess what? They may want to sell as well. I was laughing. I did an interview with Jeff Zimpher from Mortgage Marketing Podcast. Sorry, Jeff, if I screwed that up. And I did it with someone who was a Homebot rep, and then Jared Hamilton, a loan officer out of Cherry Creek in Colorado. And I laughed because, he was talking through his experience with Homebot. And then later that day, he forwarded me an email that came from a client. The client had opened the digest, and the client had replied to him and said, hey, Jared, we're thinking about buying a second home up in the mountains. I forgot which ski resort. We're going to take cash out of our current house for the down payment, and then we're going to buy up there with that money. So it was 2 mortgages for him. And then the next line said, hey, we haven't reached out to so-and-so, the realtor. When should we do that? So again, it's putting you as a loan officer in the position first. And then Jared's also a mortgage coach user. So then, he said, hey, I'm going to put in mortgage coach and show him what those properties look like. So be thinking through, again, how you can differentiate yourself from the crew. And I also know now, Chong, I'm going to be watching you on your new lead gen system. That's going to be super cool.
Oh, yeah. Headed your way, Todd.
All right. I can't wait.
Yeah. And Todd, that was a great touch point too, is that these systems, these different technologies, it's best to create a marriage. And that's why I liked a lot about Ryan Grant's presentation. His interview last week with Dave was that he created the art of home ownership as a marriage of different technologies, because it's not just about one aspect of the loan process. It's not just about hitting them on one touch point. It's about how you can add value consistently by incorporating it into your systems. So for example, people have different triggers on their CRM system, and Homebot could be an awesome tool to be able to nurture post-close, or to be able to generate leads that would go into those CRM type systems where they can be triggered with different ways to nurture. And next thing you know, you're using Mortgage Coach for that TCA, and you're ultimately getting that transaction because you leveraged all these different systems to provide the best possible scenario for your client, which is why we've started focusing a lot, and why a ton of other great systems out there are really focusing on creating these integration points, because we understand that a marriage of systems is ultimately better for keeping you fully engaged with your client base.
Hey, Grant, you talk about integration. We're getting a question on can you show the BombBomb button again? Like, how does that work? Obviously you have to get a BombBomb account, so we know that part of it. But where, I see it right there in the top right, record. So if you have a BombBomb account, that'll be there. And if you don't, then it's not.
Yeah. And it's really simple to integrate. You just have to click a button in Homebot, sign into BombBomb, and you're integrated. And what's great about the process is it's very intuitive. So here's my number one strategy, for example, that I teach to loan officers that are leveraging BombBomb and Homebot. All right, so you have your activity feed. You've got that person that's viewed the report. So just for the sake of using my demo client, let's say that Liz has viewed her digest from the email. So I'm going to say, oh, wow, Liz viewed her digest. I'm going to take a look at her account, and I'm going to see what she might be looking at. And then I start scrolling down, and I say, okay, so Liz viewed her report. She's got a ton of opportunity to save money if she were to refinance right now. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send her a bomb video right now. I'll click the record button. I'll do a screen share and say, hey, Liz, I realize that you have a lot of opportunity to refinance here. Hey, how about we set up a call and talk about it? You could be saving tens of thousands of dollars. Send the Homebot report with the video. Give her a call the next day. Say, hey, Liz, I sent you a video. You have an awesome opportunity here. Let's talk about refinancing. You could be saving a lot of money right now and being taking advantage of these rates. And then all of a sudden, you've got a full strategy where you saw what they were doing. You were able to pair great content into an opportunity to reach out, and you called to cement that opportunity and ultimately close them on it. And that's kind of how you use that marriage of text, video, as well as call to ultimately secure that client for a repeat transaction.
I think that's critical. You know, again, it's one of those things where my team hasn't done it yet, but I just feel like that's, you know, once we get past, you know, a crazy, you know, September, whatever month we're in, August is our best month that the team's ever had, you know, closing, I think, close to 60 loans. But, you know, I'm thinking through as I'm hearing the two of you talk is kind of what's next, right? How do we keep the momentum going? And I think it's using the tools like this. I think it's, you know, some of my team members have been proactive with the Mortgage Coach TCA, where they're throwing a TCA together for a potential refi, calling the client, putting the video on it for someone that they can't get a hold of, but it's kind of a no-brainer that they refi without knowing the rest of their situation. But, you know, I just feel like you build this into the process like Chong, like you are. And, you know, I loved your scripting. I could tell right away when you said, it's me, it's time, that you were quoting Mr. Brahim and his legendary scripting around that. So, you know, I think, you know, one of the things that we've always talked about here in the Mortgage Coach community is annual mortgage reviews, and how that's just needs to be a pillar of your business, and sort of how, you know, we're all should be doing it, and how we need to figure out other ways to integrate in. And I just think this is one more way to do it. So, you know, big high five to you, Chong, for doing that.
Thank you, my friend.
Oh, yeah. And Chong, too, on my end as well. Just knowing that between yourself and Todd, you're both excellent coaches as well, and you're heavily involved within your specific industries and areas. You know, how are you ultimately leveraging all of these systems? How are you becoming pros at your specific space? But more importantly, what are you guys doing to ultimately give your coaching clients the best first foot through the door on how to really kickstart their business? Just personally wondering for myself as well, because I love hearing advice from experts. You know, what's the best advice that you guys have given to those clients that you've been coaching that is ultimately helping them kickstart their business?
Chong, you can go first.
Well, quite frankly, I'm not actually a coach. I have coached other loan officers, obviously, on my team, and others. Actually, nowadays, I'm getting a lot of calls from like other loan officers in this region. But basically, you know, I am all about, I mean, what I said is I'm all about leveraging technology. I mean, I think everyone's talked about this, and we've talked about this many times, like the digital world is here. And you know, the yesterday of just making phone calls and all that is just not going to work. So if you're not leveraging Homebot with Mortgage Coach, with BombBomb, which now I found out, I just remind me I need to integrate that, right? If you're not doing all these things, you're not maximizing like your ability to be able to create, you know, business for yourself, but just be of value to the clients and everyone. So, and I feel like us here on the East Coast, we're a little bit slower to catch on to things than you guys on the West Coast.
East Coasters aren't nearly as smart as we are out West.
Yeah, we're better looking though.
Yeah, that's true. You got that.
But for some strange reason, we said, you know, things tend to like catch on a little bit, you know, a little bit later than it would on the West Coast. But yeah, I'm all about it. Like if you're not leveraging all the technology out there now, like I just don't know what, you know, where your future is going to be. And Grant, you know, when I had that initial conversation with you about Homebot, like I think you knew exactly how I felt about it, right? I mean, I was super excited. Like I was like, this is exactly what I wanted to see.
Well, I'll give my coaching piece on it, right? So, you know, I'm not doing one-on-one coaching. I'm just doing group coaching right now through Win by Noon. But I had some one-on-one clients who are regulars here on the Mortgage Coach productivity calls, who were part of the original Homebot kind of beta test. And so I had the ability to sit in the back seat and hear from them how it worked. And but now as I've been traveling and teaching, loan officers and real estate agents all over the country about Win by Noon and sort of how to be more productive, client engagement is the number one thing that everyone is looking for, because of the fact that, all these companies are really obsessively going after owning the transaction from end to end. I mean, I kind of laugh because the last end of an Amazon delivery is an Amazon Prime truck. And, sure enough, I dropped my kid off this morning at, 8:05, and at 8:15, I'm driving past the Amazon distribution center, and there's literally 40 plus gray Prime vans all leaving with stuff, right? And now you can ask Alexa up front for it to deliver your soap, and then guess what, they're delivering at the end. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we do that as well? How do we start pulling the people in sooner? And so as I'm speaking, and I originally started talking to realtors with the conversation I mentioned earlier, came blinding flash of the obvious to me when my team got Homebot, and we kind of just got it because I was tired of being pressured about it and thought we should try. And we didn't do anything with it. We just loaded the clients in and did nothing. And it started working. And then it became part of my conversation to encourage people, hey, if you're a realtor, hey, reach out to me. I'll match you up with a loan officer that I know that's using Homebot at a high level. And so that's kind of a hint for those of you. If you guys are using it in your area, let me know. Because I'd love to, connect you with agents. I'm speaking all over, and I'm happy to do that from the Win by Noon community who's looking for that. I would throw out there again, I already said it, I'm doing a webinar on Thursday with kind of with scripts and some additional stuff on how I'm seeing people use Mortgage Coach and in Homebot. And I would tell you that the last one I did a couple weeks ago, it was over 50% of the attendees were realtors learning how to use it. And so it's one of those ways where, plug in with me. I'm happy to share and make some introductions. And you can just register for that. If you look in the Facebook feed or you look in the Zoom feed, you can see the link there to register.
What time is that on, say Thursday, Todd?
Thursday at noon Pacific time. So I'm going to be winning by noon, and then at noon I will log off, not interrupt people's day, jump on, and you just go to winbynoon.com/calendar. Thanks for asking, Chong.
No, I'm going to click on.
All right. Well, that's good. That's good. I appreciate that. It's I don't know. It's kind of fun, and I think I'm learning so much from you guys here. So I'll have to jump in and create slides. And I've been doing most of my webinars that I'm doing through Win by Noon twice or three times, because I do it once, I get feedback, I make it better, and then I'll start posting them up to our YouTube channel in the near future. So appreciate that plug and that follow up. So we're kind of wrapping down towards the end. We got a couple of more questions, and I want to make sure that we're not missing anything, Chong, that you're doing. Grant, I know the answer to this, but someone's saying that they have a bunch of past clients, but not their loan information because they switched mortgage companies. What does Homebot do if you just put in basic client? What's the minimum you need to put in? And then what does Homebot do to get their loan information?
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to the minimum amount of information that we need to send this report out, all we need is first name, last name, email address, property address, and property zip code. Those 5 fields will give us all the information we need to pull the valuation. We also will pull the loan information from public record as well. But what we know about it as well, guys, is that there are certain things that aren't reflected sometimes, such as interest rate, for example. So what we'll also do is we always prompt clients, if we don't have enough loan information, a module will actually appear that said, hey, do you have a loan on this home? Or, hey, does this loan information look correct? And once again, it's just a great engagement piece. We'll have your clients actually able to edit their loan information, or they can just reach out to you as well, and you can kind of get a better gauge or understanding of how they can input that, or even just go on a screen share and show them how to do it. And the second it's in, this Homebot report automatically displays their actual equity. So then you can just start talking about the equity, talking about the refinancing situations. Of course, we always suggest giving us as much information as possible, because we use a lot of different things like date of birth to put in a reverse mortgage module, for example, that shows up when they're 61.5 years of age and have close to 50% equity. So we always suggest more information, but we just need those 5 fields to be able to create this report.
I'm laughing because I'm like, I haven't seen that reverse mortgage module yet, but that's all right. I still got some time to get there. It's funny. It made me think of one other story that that one of my loan officers just told me the other day is I've got a brand new loan officer I've been training. He's been at it for 90 days. He's closing five transactions this month. And one of the refis he's doing is a past loan officer in our team's client. So number one is that loan officer never followed up. which is kind of normal. Number two is no one else on our team really. We didn't have any other system to proactively create engagement with those clients. So no one else followed up on our team either, full disclosure. That's why I hired him and trained him so he could just focus on annual mortgage reviews. And this client, we did their loan 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, guess what? They bought another house in between. Our team didn't do the loan. We dropped the ball. But guess what? Because Homebot went to them, they reached out to us about refinancing that lead. So, it's a good way to get back in relationship with clients that you've lost if you've done a poor job. And it's a pretty cheap way to do it.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, Chong. So as we kind of wrap up, what else as a loan officer would you want to know that people haven't asked, or that you kind of something else that you think you're doing that's creating engagement with either Mortgage Coach or Homebot or both that would be a value for this crew?
Yeah, it's funny. We may or may not have touched on this, but it's sometimes difficult to, it's difficult to talk to someone to refinance unless you have the tools to be able to talk to them with it. Like, this, if I were to get on the phone with someone and all I did was get them to, or like I can create an account for them, right? From that alone, you're gonna have you'll know when the loan was when the loan was created, when they bought the house. You'll know what the house is worth, and you'll know more than likely interest rate on there. So like from that, you can create a TCA almost instantaneously to be able to get them like some value. And then like if you look at this, like you can look at the 20-year and then you can look at the 15-year, what it would look like. What I like to do is show them, okay, so you can do this in 20, you can do it in 15, and obviously the term date's going to be reduced. But like I like to turn that around and I look at the delta, like from the payment on the 30 to the 20 to 15, and I like to say, all right, well let's see what it would look like if we were to redirect that delta right between the 30 to 15 and the 20. And see what that would grow for you in 15 years or in 30 years. So in terms of creating value, like you couldn't really do that before if you didn't have this data in front of you, right? So just if you're talking about capturing the business, this really helps to be able to get you like in front of them, not just in front of them, but be able to create something without getting a whole lot of information from them. Does that make sense?
No, I think that's such a great point, and that's why I'm glad I called on you to sort of give us your final thoughts. I think that's hugely helpful. So a couple last things I'll throw in there since we've got 2.5 minutes. Now, the crazy part about it is that there's stuff that Grant didn't even get into, right? There's this new buyer module thing, which I thought was just kind of hokey initially. And now I'm like a huge fan of it because we've got clients that are self-registering and they're telling us when they want to move. Again, like you're not keeping in touch with your clients, but when you look in here, they're actually giving you data that's going to create a future loan. And so I'll talk about that on my webinar on Thursday. What else, Grant, would you want to wrap up with to give people sort of, a push in the direction of Homebot or something else that you think we didn't touch on that we should have? And then I can cover it on my webinar on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Of course. So when it comes down to it, I always suggest that if you want more information, and I specifically did leave a few things a little bit more to that air of mystique, like the Homebot for Buyers piece that we just released. So lenders, if you want to go and get a demo, you can easily go to homebot.ai, book a demo. Our inside sales team knows this thing back and forth. But ultimately, too, what we're doing at Homebot that I believe is awesome in general is we've created a marriage of potential buyer, homeowner, investor, and ultimately, these two reports are going to tie together. So for example, if you're a homeowner and you're interested in buying an investment property, you can actually go in and you can create your own buyer's report. So you can shop in different areas and ultimately figure out what area is best for you. Vice versa. If you have someone that was a buyer lead because they're an investor and they're looking at that market report, there's going to be a piece where they can actually add their home address as well for their primary residence. So ultimately, it's going to be around that full marriage of not just the home ownership, but also being able to better understand the market and know when the best time and opportunity is in the best area to get into that home. So be on the lookout for that full marriage of the homeowner side and the buyer side.
Love it. Love it. All right. So do me one favor, Grant. Type in there homebot.ai/win by noon. That's where you can get the $200 discount code for you and a $50 discount code for your realtors. So of course I want to throw that out there you see my smiling face too. I think I was skinnier then, but that's okay. So that's where you're going to want to go. That's where you're going to want to direct your realtors. If you're already using Homebot, send them there too. That'll waive their activation fee of $50. So that'll save them some money. I do think that you guys are going to continue to be the tip of the spear and create innovative products for everyone else. And so in the honor of all of your time, I just want to say thank you to Chong. Man, that was great value to have from you to come on here and give your experience and perspective. Obviously, you, Grant, for taking time out of your busy day to be here. So on behalf of Dave and the whole Mortgage Coach team, myself, the Win by Noon crew, look forward to hearing you guys talk about Homebot and your successes. Look forward to hearing you talk about how you're integrating it into your annual mortgage review routine with Mortgage Coach. And of course, look forward to seeing some of you on that webinar on Thursday. If you're watching a recording of this, just reach out to me. I'll make sure that you have access to get to it. So thanks all for being here. And we look forward to hearing some great success stories and around Mortgage Coach and your productivity. Take care, guys.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
It's awesome. See you guys.